3, 2. The radiation suit has been unbelievably diagnosed.
What you just witnessed was the Aurora detonation from Subnautica. However, it's not running on a PC or a modern console. This is actually running on a modern iPhone 16 Pro. Subnautica has just recently released for iOS and Android devices, and I have had the pleasure of being able to play these releases because they're relatively cheap. This game is only around $10 right now and is the full entirety of Subnautica, and it's just definitely a game that is going to be worth your time. If you've never played Subnautica before, this mobile port is a fantastic jumping off point. For one, the controls here are absolutely fluid. They feel fantastic on touch, and they feel really good with the controller. If you have one of those controller mounts or just a Bluetooth Xbox controller, this game supports all type of control types that you would want. But if you don't have those things available to you, then playing on the touchscreen actually is quite fine. This is just a very good mobile port, and I really just kind of wanted to sort of do a brief kind of off the cuff overview and review of the Subnautica mobile port. I love Subnautica, and it's a game that I have been playing a lot over the years, but never actually finished because of just other things and prior engagements. But Subnautica is definitely a game that you need to give a try if you haven't already, because this game is absolutely fantastic. I mean, just look at the world design here. You have all these different creatures, and just the world, the art, the destruction, everything in Subnautica is absolutely fantastic. But before I get ahead of myself, I just want to say a few things. I want to thank all of you guys for clicking on this video and some of the growth that we've seen on this channel. I've been in the business of making some more vlogs and more different types of content. This was something that I recorded on mobile, mainly just did screen recording on here, but I have some other things that I'm working on my computer with actual editing software like DaVinci Resolve and higher quality stuff. And I just want to say thank you for watching the previous videos, like the vlogs. I have another vlog episode coming up, and I got a lot of other gaming related content in the pipeline. I have a video about the new game Peak, which is that hiking game that you can play with buddies. It's kind of going to be a longer one because I have a lot of gameplay footage and I got to figure out how I want to structure all that. But all of the preamble out of this way, this is going to be a review of Subnautica, just kind of a first impressions on mobile, really quick, really just off the rip. This game so far has been great on mobile, and it pretty much runs flawlessly. I have most of my settings turned up to max, and while it does drain my battery quite quickly, it's not that big of a deal since I have a phone charger around me generally at all times, and you can play for a couple hours until the battery gets real low if you're just playing this game nonstop. But yeah, something right here that's really interesting is you can type different types of things onto beacons. You can name your beacons, your boxes, all of that differently, which is something that's been in the base Subnautica, but having a touchscreen pop up, to be able to do it, it's pretty easy and it's really intuitive. Right here, I named this one Base 1 North the Pit because I was trying to put out beacons around the area that, would be a good area to just have a base. I want to actually beat Subnautica, and I've been trying to for the longest time, and I just keep starting the game over. But back to the point of Subnautica, the game runs for the most part quite well. You can turn up your frame rate settings pretty high, and I think at around 120 FPS. I'm not exactly sure how well this game runs on older iPhones or Androids, because I got a relatively new iPhone. It's an iPhone 16 Pro, which it's not the biggest model, but it's pretty much the top of the line iPhone. It's relatively the most newest one. It's probably about maybe a year or a few months old. I'm not a huge iPhone connoisseur, knowledge guy about the iPhone, inner workings, but this game definitely runs fantastic on here, and it's something that I've been seeing a lot recently with mobile games. There's been a lot of console games coming to mobile. Did you know that you could play most of the modern Resident Evil games on mobile pretty flawlessly? You can play Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 4, 3, and 2, the remakes, all on mobile. But this is not a video about the Resident Evil remakes, which is something that I will probably cover in another video, but this is about Subnautica. The game here, is Subnautica, which is a game in its own right is already fantastic to begin with. If you've never played Subnautica, you're really missing out because Subnautica is a game that is just very relaxing, but also quite terrifying at the same time. If you are afraid of the ocean, you will not like this game, man. Well, maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. You just gotta really give Subnautica a fair shake because it really deserves it. It's one of those games that is just absolutely fantastic. The art design here is incredible. Everything in Subnautica is easily identifiable and all just pops. The colors pop, the UI design pops. Everything on here is just fantastic, and it's all been translated pretty frequently and pretty easily over to mobile. The touch controls actually are quite good, which is surprising as a lot of mobile games, mobile ports have pretty awful touch controls, but this game runs and feels it's pretty intuitive. But that also does help because Subnautica is a game that doesn't require very fast shooting inputs, as first-person shooters on mobile can be quite difficult to play due to the touch controls. But this port of Subnautica doesn't have that issue, as the game is, kind of made for mobile unintentionally. Even though this game came out way before the idea of a mobile port of Subnautica was even possible, there was different, design principles in Subnautica that would kind of carry over well to a mobile device. For instance, you don't really have firearms. You do have a couple weapons here and there, but you're mainly using a knife, some scanners, and grab traps, and it's all about stuff that you make. Subnautica is a survival game, through and through, but it also has a pretty fun sandbox, and it's one of those sandbox survival games that is actually, not boring to play because you have a constant objective and you never get tired of that objective. You are trying to escape the ship after the ship crashes, and everything that you do is towards that goal. It doesn't matter if you're just collecting fish like I'm doing here, or if you're collecting sandstone outcroppings, or just going back to the base. Every single thing that you do in Subnautica ties into the main goal of getting off this planet and getting away from the destruction that was caused due to the sinking, or not the sinking, but the destruction of the Aurora. In Subnautica, you can craft things. You have all these different items, you have different minerals and materials that you can acquire. Look at this. I have all this, titanium alloy and titanium minerals that you can use to make different types of structures. Here, you can take fish and make water, and this is not even new. I do not really know why I'm explaining Subnautica to you, because there's a high chance that you've played Subnautica because the game was pretty popular in its heyday and is, having a sequel, and it's still relatively popular now. But this mobile port is definitely a way to get into the game if you don't, have a high power console and all you have is an iPhone. And going back to crafting, what you're seeing on screen, crafting in mobile is very intuitive and smooth, as you just have all these different options and it's very fast, and all you have to do is just click what you want to do, craft. You can pin different recipes. It's all just really easy, and it's also very helpful into learning the game. Say for instance, if you never played Subnautica and you need to learn it, this is a good way to practice the game on the go. The portability aspect of this mobile port is very impressive because it's pretty much the exact, full port of Subnautica with no strings attached, and you can just play it on the go whenever, which is absolutely insane to say in 2025 that you can play Subnautica on the phone with pretty much no issues. Keep in mind that I said pretty much. This game, for me at least, had a problem with saving and just making the game going black. There were times when I'd boot this game up, off rip, just a fresh, restart, and the game would be just stuck on a black screen, basically a loading screen glitch where the game just could not get past the initial loading screen. This has been a pretty common issue that I've seen, kind of floating around the internet. I'm not exactly sure if it's fixed because I haven't played Subnautica on my phone as of late because I've been real busy with other things, but let me know down in the comments if you still have this issue, because that's probably the only glitch that I could think of at the moment, is this weird loading glitch where sometimes the game won't load, but all you really have to do to fix that is just uninstall the game. And it does suck because you might lose some data because the saving in this game is kind of messy. That's pretty much the only thing. The game does have cloud saves, but for me at least, it didn't seem like the cloud saves are really syncing, so I had to constantly save just to make sure I wasn't going to lose any progress. By the way, I hope this footage of me just tinkering in my live pod isn't too boring. This is a good chunk of what you're going to do in Subnautica, is actually just sit here and craft things. If you never actually played Subnautica, there's a lot of back-end crafting and inventory management when you're not out in the water exploring. And speaking of exploration is absolutely fantastic in this game. Exploration mostly includes, at the beginning of the game at least, getting in and out of your escape pod, going around your area and just gathering resources, and slowly getting more and more resources to be able to venture further out away from your life pod. Eventually, once you get enough titanium and you build the, right tools that you need, you can build, mobile bases pretty much anywhere on the map, anywhere you'd like, as long as you have the right materials, oxygen, power, all the stuff that you need for your base. You can put bases pretty much anywhere in the world, and it's really cool as you can pretty much modify the world in a lot of interesting ways. Another aspect of Subnautica that translated quite well to mobile is the UI and user experience. Everything on screen here is easily, touchable and accessible, as the icons are made quite large. There's not much room for error. Like, you can miss stuff and misclick. I mean, I've done it before, but I've done that in regular games too, like games on PC and console. There's always going to be times where you miss input, but anyways, it's pretty easy to like tap what you need to tap and craft what you need to craft. And once you kind of get into that rhythm, especially when you're listening to the soundtrack of this game, the soundtrack of Subnautica, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. The music is just so chill and relaxing. There are some songs that can be quite terrifying, as Subnautica is actually a horror game, if you didn't know. I don't want to get too much into detail about that, because I really feel like Subnautica is a game that you need to experience blind if you've never before, because this game can get really scary very quickly. But besides that, going back to the music in Subnautica just perfectly fits pretty much every scene in this game. Anytime you go swimming, there's this ambient like background music, or just anytime you're doing anything in general, there'll be times where there's music that'll just play, and even when there's not music playing, it just fits. Like, everything in this game is perfectly scored, and there's never a time in Subnautica where I feel like the music just does not fit or and it's annoying. Like, I don't ever get tired of listening to the music of Subnautica, and I find myself listening to the Subnautica music, out of game when I'm doing editing or when I'm working, or especially when I was in college. Like, when I was in college and I was doing research, like reading papers, writing essays, all that boring college paperwork stuff, I basically listened to the Subnautica soundtrack a lot to kind of get into that vibe of like a scientist slash, biologist. It's really good for science. But, music aside, this game is just absolutely fantastic, and it's one of those games that really deserves your time. And this mobile port, for the most part, is pretty well. The only issues with this port so far, and are issues that have probably been fixed as time of recording, is just the issues with the saving bugs and like the game just like kind of glitching out when you're loading. Also, look at that, look at these little lock boxes. This is a storage box containers that you can build with titanium, and you can put them pretty much anywhere around the world, and they stay there. They never go away, which is something that's absolutely insane for a mobile port to do, because a lot of mobile ports have to make, pretty vast, cutting corners, but this game pretty much, is flawless, like to the T. It's pretty much just Subnautica without really any issue. I do find myself saving quite a lot because I get nervous that I'm gonna like exit the game, or like mess something up. But yeah, dude, the game is mostly a masterpiece on mobile. Like, it's a pretty good port. It, doesn't have very many issues. Everything is translated, like all the content is there. I don't think there's the multiplayer yet, but it's definitely a fun game and really deserves your time. But anyways, to wrap things up, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, drop a comment on what type of games you want to see me review in the future, and also make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm moving over to YouTube instead of, more of a focus on TikTok, because I'm doing TikTok for quite a while, and I'm kind of plateauing on TikTok, so I'd like to kind of try something new and different. And yeah, man, if you enjoyed this video, you can join the Discord as well. I have a Discord down in the bio. I'm not exactly sure if it's on the bio of my YouTube, but if you go check out my TikTok and just ask for the Discord link, I can send you that link. But this so far has been a pretty good port on mobile. Like, it's mostly the same Subnautica, which is just an iconic video game, mostly a masterpiece. And it is a perfect way to get into Subnautica if you do not have like an Xbox or a PlayStation or even a Mac. Having an iPhone and being able to play this really just chill, relaxing survival sandbox game is a lot of fun. The game can be stressful, but at the end of the day, it's Subnautica, and it's a great time killer, and you will see yourself losing hours like on the bus or in the car or wherever you're going. Like, you will definitely kill some time playing Subnautica. But yeah, to wrap things up, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and a comment and hit that subscription bell and a notification icon because man's gotta eat. But yeah, I will see you boys on the flip side. This has been Mavo 1111. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.